We start out with our queen of chaos and mayhem called Momo, where a chopped guy who looks like he moonlights as a pimp, seeing that she's got no bucks to spend, he adjusts his belt to signal that what he can for free is bump uglies with her, and even that would be considered as a favor.
You serious?
Which is why he expects her to pay for the love hotel. She does lift her legs for him, but only to kick him in the face, which he barely dodges, after which he immediately swings a punch at his face, only for him to tackle her and deliver a kick in the gut. He spits insults at her for being too uptight for a broke girl before heading into their school. When Momo narrates the whole incident to her bestie, in class she gets a typical "I told you so" reaction from her friend, even though she's heartbroken over her first breakup. Her friends don't even understand what she saw in him in the first place, to which she sheepishly admits that she liked him because he looked like Ken Takakura, whom she finds super masculine and attractive. Her friends give her a much-needed reality check on how guys like Ken are more extinct than the dodo bird these days, which makes Momo wallow in self-pity like Taylor Swift after her 25th breakup. She's roaming the school halls in despair like La Llorona when she stops outside the boys section and spots a four-eyed victim of bullying. The nerdy pants is silently reading his aeronautics magazine while his classmates throw paper balls at him. They're about to take it up a notch and add magnets inside the paper ball for maximum damage when Momo decides to play Superman and intervenes. She sits down with the nerd and acts like she's friends with him so that the bullies would get off his back. After using her clout for the good of mankind, Momo exits the classroom shaking her head at how mankind has reached an all-time low these days. She's walking in the hallway again, vibing to Breakin' Dishes by Rihanna when the nerd intercepts her, claiming that he knows what she's up to. He pulls up his geeky magazine and shows her the page he was reading, claiming that this could be the only reason why she interacted with him. He accuses her of taking an interest into the occult like Matt Rife these days, as the article in the magazine is about Project Pegasus, where the US president went to Mars and apparently met up with some aliens, because it's always the Americans who are asking for trouble. More confused than ever, Momo responds that she has zero interest in UFOs and other alien stuff when he corrects her, saying that the article discusses UAPs, aka unidentified aerial phenomena, and now it makes complete sense why he was being bullied so much. Momo finally throws a hormonal teenage tantrum and gets really harsh with him, saying that his yapping is the reason why he's such a loner. Momo is about to walk away when she notices how sad he looks and passively apologizes for her mean comment. She walks back to him and gives the conversation another shot by mentioning that she doesn't believe in the existence of extraterrestrial life but does believe that ghosts exist. It's his turn to be the meanie now, as he laughs in her face at her superstitious personality, making her angry because she was just trying to relate to him and show some kindness. But this guy apparently doesn't need the sympathy of someone who mocks the occult, which establishes bad blood between them. To prove her point, Momo shares that her grandmother is a real-life spirit medium, which is why she has witnessed many exorcisms. Okarun, on the other hand, is a man of science like Sheldon from Big Bang Theory, which is why he refuses to believe in anything that isn't backed by research evidence. As they have an early 2000s rap battle type of fight, Momo's friends reach there and laugh at her for ditching her dreams of Ken Takakura for a wimpy otaku. As Momo's friends admire her daring effort to get laid, Momo challenges Okarun to go to a haunted place and become her gopher if he sees an actual ghost. Okarun also pulls out a ditto move by telling her to go someplace infested with UAPs so that she can be his gopher after witnessing them. As planned, Momo finds herself at Nagi Hospital later that night, which straight up looks like one of the locations on American Horror Story. She has no idea why aliens would be found in this messed up hospital that puts Arkham Asylum to shame, as she uses her phone's flashlight to look around while having Okarun on call. He yaps about how this hospital is known to be a UFO hotspot, and if she goes on the rooftop she might even end up being abducted by one, and asks him about his experience of seeing a UFO in real life. His ADHD mind jumps to another concept called regressive hypnosis, which means he might be capping, being followed by an ominous figure and not even knowing it. Momo asks Okarun if he's reached an abandoned tunnel in the middle of nowhere that she sent him to, clearly ignoring the do not enter sign like I ignore all red flags when the person is hot. Okarun casually says that this place doesn't look so bad, even though his voice is trembling like a bop on Omegle. Shining his flashlight into the pitch black darkness of the tunnel, Okarun finally steps inside while Momo also comes clean about not really having seen a ghost in real life. To not get roasted by him, she immediately plays the sympathy card by giving him some backstory on how she's an orphan who was raised by her medium grandmother, which is why she believes in ghosts. She's been raised around so many superstitions, like doing a ritual pose for good luck on her way to school, which involved her pointing a finger up from her head, looking like she's giving LS to everyone. Obviously, that got her mocked by the boys in her class, but things took an ugly turn when her childhood crush also made fun of her for that weird emote, igniting a new feeling of grandma hate within Momo. After this incident, she snapped at her grandmother, which led to them not talking anymore and her never having to do the ritual again. But even now, if she sees someone making yo grandmama jokes at her, she gets really angry because her relationship with her grandmother and her medium abilities were something Momo considered to be really special. Now that Momo has opened up to him completely, she expects Okarun to give his origin arc of where his belief in aliens comes from, but he decides to act like an emotionally unavailable brat, saying that it's not necessary to have an elaborate reason or story for believing in something, which is the case with him. Momo admires his newfound no-nonsense personality, unaware that the lights around her are flickering in a super sus manner. Okarun admits that he unlocked this boldness thanks to her because she's so easy to talk to while bloody footprints on the walls around him emerge. As the light from his flashlight falls onto the ground beneath him, he finally notices the bloody footprints path headed in his direction as he's currently standing on one of the patterns. He turns his flashlight to another spot but finds nothing there when he turns back again and sees the corpse of an old lady standing before him. It seems like Ghost Granny is ovulating as she offers him a good deal of 34 plus 35 before he realizes that ghosts actually do exist and tries to run away in denial, even though Momo screams at him from the phone that running doesn't really help with ghosts, because if this ghost called Turbo Granny outruns someone, they're cursed for life. It doesn't look good for our boy Okarun right now as Turbo Granny accelerates, catching on to him, and the last thing Momo hears before the call cuts is Okarun's frenzied screams. Momo rushes to help him, only for all the lights around her to go out one by one, revealing 3 short kings with the same faces and bodies. Momo instantly turns away and steps back, but they quickly pounce on her, tearing her clothes apart because even they gotta get some action from time to time. When Momo wakes up, she's tied to a seat in her underwear and resembles the opening of an adult movie. The aliens around her introduce themselves as Serpoians who belong from the planet Serpo, promising her that they are a friendly species, but her clothes ripped to shreds on the ground says otherwise. She demands to be sent home, but they ignore her whining and go on about how their species is all male, which is why they reproduce using cloning technology. Since these aliens are identical, they don't evolve, which is why their species is free of any conflict or emotion, which is why they plan to do something with Momo. Hint, it rhymes with grape. After that, they plan to extract her uterus and all her lady parts for research purposes, which goes on to prove that they're the creepiest species out there. Refusing to swipe her V-card to a bunch of creepy aliens, Momo resists because she wants to save herself for a dreamy Ken Takakura, but one of them put his hands on her forehead and uses some weird energy to put her down like a rabid dog. Then, they use psychokinesis to arouse her body and get her to warm up while she keeps resisting because she's a strong-willed baddie. Nevertheless, one of those great a-holes forces her legs open and unleashes his metal ding-dong, which is basically a spiked needle explaining why there are no females in this species. As if on cue, Momo's phone rings and one of the Serpoians picks up the call, only for the ghost of Turbo Granny to come out of the screen and munch down on his unpeeled banana, killing him on the spot. As Momo tries to wrap her head around this, she hears Okarun's apology for not believing her as he has been integrated into Turbo Granny's body after being cursed. As Turbo Granny casually vasectomizes 2 Serpoians, the last one left standing attacks her, slamming her against a wall when Okarun reappears and admits that he's waited all his childhood to meet aliens because he genuinely thought that they'd be the only ones to befriend him, but they never showed up for him and he remained the weird kid of the class until Momo sat down with him. So to return her favor, he lets Turbo Granny possess him and charges at the Serpoian to save Momo, but gets shot by his energy gun. Quitting at the first sign of pain, Okarun struggles in Turbo Granny's body while the last Serpoian prepares to impregnate Momo. This is when she recalls a childhood moment with her grandma where she told little Momo to do the hand gesture and release her chi and stay protected from all harm. Even though Momo thought it was uncool, her grandma taught her to tense her tummy muscles and visualize her chi shooting up from the top of her head, which is exactly what she does at this moment. To everyone's surprise, she breaks free of the Serpoian's grip, unleashing her hidden psychic powers and kicks the Serpoian in the face. As the alien's body clashes with the surroundings, Momo realizes that she's been in a real UFO all along when Turbo Granny pins her down. Having enough of being passed around like a blunt, Momo releases her energy on the ghost, pushing her out of Okarun's body, but he still remains under Turbo Granny's curse somehow. Turbo Granny admits that she's taken custody of Okarun's ding-dong, and as long as she has it, he'll remain under her curse until Momo shows up to the tunnel and defeats Turbo Granny there. As the old ghost leaves, the UFO crashes into Nagi Hospital, and Momo and Okarun finally make it out onto safe ground, both of them believing in the existence of ghosts and aliens after falling victims to their tortures. With no clothes, phone, or wallet, Momo covers herself with part of Okarun's uniform and uses her powers to keep his curse under control. He takes off his uniform so that Momo can stay clothed, and they decide to go the tunnel together to beat all the hormones out of Turbo Granny's wrinkly apparition. As they're walking together, Okarun keeps his gaze down and insists on her getting dressed properly because he can't think straight with her roaming roaming around like a Victoria's Secret model. Realizing that this is something Kentakakura would say, Momo blushes as her heart races due to Okarun's courtesy, and she asks for his real name. When he tells her that his real name is Kentakakura, Momo gets the biggest shock of her life. As she refuses to accept this astounding information, her focus wavers and Okarun's curse reactivates, making him pounce on her with the noble intentions of gobbling her up. Snapping back to survival mode, Momo uses telekinesis to push him off and slams him into a wall, telling him that a new rule within their friendship is that he won't mention his real name, ever. Our guy loses major aura points by letting out a fart in front of Momo as they walk back home. Noticing that the sun is out already, Momo guesses that Turbo Granny won't make an appearance during daytime and takes him to her place because she's modern like that and also because he looks super busted. Before they walk into Momo's house, Okarun cleans his glasses as if that would help with his torn, half-piece clothes too. Momo warns him that her grandmother is very strict about her bringing boys home, which is why she almost killed her last boyfriend. Turns out that Momo was way more on the mark than she expected because as soon as Okarun steps foot into the grounds of their home, he turns into the Burning Man as his body is set on flames, probably due to the paranormal entity attached to him. Using her telekinesis again, throws him in a nearby water reserve to extinguish the flames. She notices on the wall of the entrance that her grandmother had set up a barrier for ghosts like Turbo Granny, which is why Momo takes it down this time and makes a second attempt at letting him walk in. He succeeds this time even though his body is tingling all over for all the wrong reasons. Momo sees how his hair changed since the burning incident and laughs at him for getting an old lady perm. Now that they're actually inside the house, Momo looks around for her grandmother and guesses she isn't home, which is why they directly go upstairs to her room so that she can change. Instructing him to close the door and stay outside while she changes, Momo finally gets a moment of privacy that lasts shorter than a virgin because Okarun's curse reactivates and he barges in. She uses her power to push him away and keeps him pinned to a wall while she finally changes back into her own clothes. Once she's dressed, she takes pity on Okaru as he's been walking around in his boxers, not that he's got any goods to protect down there now. Handing him her loose-fitting sweats, she ticks him off by asking what it's like to have his manhood taken away from him. Just as curious as her, he takes a peek into his trousers for the first time and totally freaks out at his chopped wood. He blames her for daring him to walk into the tunnel which led to all this, and she reminds him that it was him who walked up to her and started yapping about aliens. He admits that he didn't want to miss out on his chance of befriending her, considering how he's remained untouched all these years. This is why he immediately followed her around like a lost puppy, but he has realized now that she's way out of his league and that losers at the bottom of the high school food chain shouldn't mingle with 10 hus like her. He regrets putting her in danger and promises her that she can go back to being unaware of his worthless existence as soon as they get out of this nightmare fuel mess. Momo says that he's jumping to conclusions and making assumptions about how others feel about him, and the reason why he doesn't have any friends is because he pushes everyone away. But she's not like other girls and won't ignore him just because he's a Grinch, because she also needs someone to discuss conspiracy theories. That's when he calls her a biatch for putting all his emotional baggage out there like he's on Dr. Phil, and she jumps at his throat in retaliation when they're interrupted by the ringing of a bell. Okarun thinks it's Momo's grandma, but she clarifies that her grandma never makes an entry like this because she's never heard this doorbell ring before. She looks down the stairs cautiously. Looking down at the door where an unknown spirit awaits them, it hits Momo that she never put the talisman back up, which means that the barrier for ghosts has been down this whole time. She decides to quickly put it back in its place after getting Okarun off the property so that the spirit inside would catch fire like he did. But as soon as they step out of the house, they find themselves trapped in a darker version of the house with a huge black cloud towering over them. Even if Momo would put the talisman back, Okarun will turn into a s'more, which is why they're cooked at this point. To make matters worse, Momo and Okarun both get a nosebleed for all the wrong reasons. Figuring out that the black fog surrounding them is responsible for this, Momo finally faces the evil spirit who calls them bad humans for not keeping their promise. This monster throws him around like a sumo wrestler, after which they start running away while he also calls out for Okarun's dong because apparently he's quite the Don Juan in the spirit world. Momo doesn't understand why a ghost will come after something Okarun no longer has when he breaks the news to her that the monster they're dealing with right now is an alien called the Flatwoods Monster. The reason why the other doorbell rang on his arrival is probably because aliens and ghosts share some characteristics in common. So this bad boy was sent by the Serpoians who are after Momo's cherries instead of Okarun's banana. As the black fog emitted by the alien weakens Momo and she struggles to keep Okarun's curse in check, he decides to use it to their advantage and fight off the alien himself because he's not scared of the extraterrestrial. All Momo has to do is keep the curse off his mind instead of his body so that he can can stay in his senses and make Japan great again by sending this alien back to where it came from. Momo tries to keep his mind clear while he allows his body to accept Turbo Granny's power, and they succeed, creating an OP version of Okarun that's made him really emo, but also really strong and fast. Cutting off the monster's hand, Okarun makes a comeback, explaining that his weak human body can't handle Turbo Granny's power for a long time when Momo notices that the monster's fighting style resembles the techniques of a sumo wrestler. This is why they plan to make Okarun cut his leg off while Momo would push him back through her telekinesis so that his hand would touch the ground. The alien cheats and gives Momo a nice beating, which is enough to rage bait her into teaching this ugly thing a lesson. She instigates it to punch a crater into the wall that was blocking the gate, after which she's able to move Okarun off the property and stick the talisman back up in its place, setting the alien on fire until they're back to reality where everything is okay. Okarun has a different hairstyle now, and Momo admits that she liked his curly hair more when she passes out due to the exhaustion of carrying the whole show on her back. He tries to help her out, but since she's no longer keeping his curse away, Turbo Granny takes over despite his efforts to resist. After getting everything wrong about an idol on a TV show, a psychic named Santa Dodoria walks out of the studio and asks her cab driver to stop the car and let her out when he starts asking invasive questions like a TMZ reporter. He apologizes to her and she predicts that he'll die if he doesn't leave immediately, maybe because she knows what's up with Momo and Okarun. By this time, Turbo Granny has spread Momo's legs and is about to steal her femininity too, when Santa Dodoria, aka Momo's grandmother, intervenes. Turbo Granny attacks her at the speed of light, but Santa had seen this coming, which is why she'd already set up a trap for the ghost in her blind spot. Now that Turbo Granny is stuck inside a circle, she'll burn to ashes if she steps foot outside this barrier, giving Santa an opportunity to have her nailed to the ground. After taking a few swings at Turbo Granny, Santa draws another wider barrier so that she can hit the ghost harder, making Turbo Granny so desperate that she shares that if she dies, Okarun dies with her. Like an unbothered queen, Santa responds that any scumbag who dares to try getting into Momo's panties deserves to die anyway. On that note, she says bye-bye to Turbo Granny while smushing the outline of the circle with one of her feet. Later that evening, Momo wakes up safely in her bed and goes downstairs to look for Okarun when she spots Santa watching TV in the living room like a boomer. Santa is completely engrossed in her comedy show when Momo vaguely confesses to getting in trouble with a boy and inquires about him with concern. Finally giving her some attention, Santa casually mentions that she killed Turbo Granny, only for Momo to get even more worried about Okarun. But Santa is starring in a new season of the Summaries turned petty as she reminds Momo about her disbelief in ghosts and how she called her grandma a fake. Since Santa is in no mood of letting go the grudge she holds against Momo for dissing her, Momo takes the higher road by properly apologizing to her grandmother and admitting that she was wrong all this time. After getting the ego boost that she was fishing for, Santa sends Momo to the main shrine, unaware that Momo is ridden with guilt for forcing Okarun to go into a haunted tunnel. When Momo opens the door to the shrine, Okarun is peacefully having girl dinner, innocently munching on a rice ball. When he sees her, he expresses how glad he is to find her alive, but before he can be any more sweet, she slams the doors back in his face, both annoyed and relieved at the same time that he's safe. Santa sneaks up on Momo, explaining that Okarun's curse won't activate as long as he stays inside the shrine, and questions if they're having a situationship, which Momo denies even though the blush on her cheeks says otherwise. After Momo catches Santa up on all that they've been through so far, Santa delivers a history lesson on Turbo Granny, who previously had the name of 100 kilometers an hour Granny and was seen rarely in different places across the country. One day, Santa heard about her hanging around in the abandoned tunnel and went there to play Ghostbusters, immediately getting weird energy from the place, which gave her the idea that Turbo Granny fused with a bound spirit, meaning it stayed in the tunnel because she was attached to it and had the greatest energy there. Knowing that even she's not strong enough to fight the spirit in that tunnel, Santa forbids Momo from going to that tunnel and tells her to ditch Okarun for her own safety. Following in the footsteps of her hero Kenta Kakura, Momo decides to be righteous and help Okarun against Santa's wishes, causing Santa to ship Momo and Okarun again. She comes up with a plan to help Momo and Okarun, explaining that Momo will need to play tag with Turbo Granny and lure her out of Shono City, which is the bound spirit's territory. This will weaken Turbo Granny so much that Momo and Okarun will be able to take her down. Momo suggests using a barrier when Santa tells her that her power applies only within their territory of Kamigoe City, as all psychics draw their power from gods of their respective territories, reminding Santa about how miserably she failed at track team tryouts. Momo repeats that there's no way she can train in time to outrun Turbo Granny, and this is where they finally include Okarun in the conversation, as he's supposed to carry Momo so that she can keep his curse in check and race with Turbo Granny at the same time. Realizing that even Okarun is too weak to win in this impromptu Olympic game they've just made up, Santa turns into a gym bro and gives him a workout plan to train so that he can handle Turbo Granny's power in a better manner. Momo also has to amplify her psychic powers, since it'll be just the two of them against her, and Sonata won't be able to intervene at all. Once Santa goes away because it's her bedtime, Okarun apologizes to Momo for fumbling the fight with the Flatwoods monster and being selfish, promising to save her from harm next time they get in such a situation. When Momo tells him to chill out and not overthink all this, he immediately switches gears and starts whining again about her slamming the door in his face. Once they're done bickering, Momo gets a drink from the house for him while the new channels confirm that Santa's predictions about the idol having a secret child were actually true. The next morning, Okarun is about to wet his pants like a little kid since he needs Momo to keep looking at him to keep Turbo Granny away, but taking a leak in front of Momo is also a problem for him. While he tries to hold it in, Santa and Momo talk about how her powers work and how their strength diminished since she first discovered them in the UFO. Santa points out that Momo relies too much on her vision to use her powers when she can use other senses like touch too. When this ends up being a major fail, Okarun runs to their bathroom in their house and takes a massive morning dump while Momo watches him in horror and disgust. As Santa talks about how Momo needs to train to unleash her full potential, Okarun complains about having to go to the bathroom in front of a bunch of women he's not even related to. Realizing that she took her eyes off of him, Momo faces Turbo Granny in all her glory, while Okarun and Sonata remain frozen in time. Noticing Santa's nosebleed, Momo learns that Okarun's curse is as contagious as the coronavirus, and that Turbo Granny will take down Santa with a stroke or a heart attack if Momo fails to show up at the tunnel tonight. As soon as Turbo Granny goes away, Momo sees that Okarun's nose is bleeding too, and Santa's bleeding Oz extended to her ears as well. Later that night, Santa dresses them up in clothes that are supposed to act as bulletproof vests against ghosts and lectures. Momo like a Karen about how she always brings trouble home, but even she acts like a softie sometimes as she hugs Momo right before she steps out, instructing her to not lose her life over a boy she just met. As they commute to the tunnel via subway because they're smart like that, Momo promises to bust up Turbo Granny real good for threatening her grandma's life. They both push each other in to go first because right now they're in a major guts shortage. To make matters worse, they see Turbo Granny's chopped face covering both ends of the tunnel in what looks like a boss fight for them. Sticking to their plan, they activate Okarun's emo mode, but that doesn't work out because Turbo Granny lifts the curse off of Okarun to keep him from transforming, returning his manhood to him. She refuses her own power being used against her, which reminds Momo of Santa's instructions to taunt the ghost and challenge her to a race. Giving the ghost's ego some strong dents, Momo convinces her to play tag with them, but it doesn't end well as Turbo Granny effortlessly catches Momo before she could even leave the tunnel. It's Okarun's turn now, and he's so mad at the ghost for catching Momo that he bites her nip like a baby and doesn't let go until she possesses him. This gives Momo an opportunity to crush Turbo Granny's aura in her original form, freeing Okarun of the ghost and having Turbo Granny in her weakest form. Momo is about to send the granny to an old age home there, and then when the location-bound spirit shows up in the form of a crab to get Granny back. Running out of the tunnel, Momo grabs Granny's spirit and puts it to use to transform Okarun. They make a narrow escape while Turbo Granny keeps complaining about how they're using her powers without her permission. After realizing that the crab is still after them and that they won't be able to make it out of the city in time, Momo gets the idea of luring the crab into a hot spring where she boils it alive. Passing on their opportunity to enjoy a free seafood boil, they both run towards the exit of Shono City, only to learn that there's a cemetery at the edge of this wretched city, which is how Turbo Granny called reinforcements. With so many spirits chasing the two of them and the crab making a comeback, Momo commands Okarun to go full throttle once more, using their last energy boost. This ends up working in their favor as they manage to get out of the hordes of spirits and land far away before Okarun reaches his limit. They're about to drag themselves out of Shono City when Momo realizes that she accidentally let go of Turbo Granny, who now fuses with the crab and is adamant on eating them alive. Using her telekinetic skills, Momo holds on to a nearby train and uses it to run away from Turbo Granny, who only catches up when the train slows down on a curve. Little did the ghost know that she walked right into Momo's trap because as soon as the train enters Kamigoe City, Turbo Granny gets weak enough to be absolutely obliterated by Momo, who closes this chapter once and for all. As Turbo Granny fades away, Momo notices the spirits of a lot of young girls being set free. Later on, Santa gives her some context on how many young girls were up and thrown in the tunnel, which is why Turbo Granny visited that place to console the spirits that were still wandering. As Momo and Okarun pray for them at the tunnel, Santa gives them one last lecture about never mocking the dead or invading their territories. That night, they have crab for dinner and the girls fight over it like he's the lead guitarist of a boy band, while Okarun dodges Santa's attempts to take a peek into his pants and see what he's gotten back from Turbo Granny. As Momo sees him off that night, Okarun feels really nice about the fact that she says, "See you again," instead of a final goodbye, because he low-key expected himself to be kicked to the curb. The next day, Okarun lurks around a pole like your average neighborhood creep, practicing how he's going to say hello to Momo. Even though he's been practicing all night, he totally panics at seeing her and ignores her instead because he didn't expect her to be waiting for him at the school gate. But she's better than that, which is why she catches up to him and tells him he's late for school. Even though Okarune's still at the bottom of the high school food chain, he excuses everyone's annoyance towards him because now he has a wonderful friend in the form of Momo. Meanwhile, Momo is lost in thought during class, which makes her friends think she tried to patch up with her ex-boyfriend and got rejected, which is why she's been MIA for so long. What none of their classmates know, however, is that they're both dying to talk to each other. They go to each other's class during lunchtime but accidentally miss out on each other, which sends them into a spiral about how the other one doesn't really like them. They're both losing faith in their friendship and sighing like a 60s heroine when they bump into each other. Literally, as they're both coming clean about their insecurities, Momo's friends with no lives of their own accuse them of kissing, sending them into a banter about how they'd never kiss someone as stupid as the other. Heading into the washroom to take a leak, Okarune decides to apologize to Momo for fighting with her when he notices something weird about his ding-dong. On the other hand, Momo is being pestered by her friends about hiding her new boyfriend as she keeps denying these dating rumors like a Hollywood couple trying to stay low-key. Finally, Okarune comes rushing to her, insisting that he needs to talk to her about a major issue, admitting that he wanted to talk to her all along. But Momo brutally brushes him off in front of all her friends, convincing him that she's too embarrassed to be seen with him. At home time, Okarune is still thinking about Momo when he accidentally bumps into a pretty chick who treats him with much more kindness than Momo ever did, making him all flustered and awkward as he apologizes to her for walking into her. Momo, who had been feeling guilty about her rude behavior, is shocked to see him with a side chick already, but then she overhears that biatch named Era flexing to her friends about how she made that four-eyed otaku's life by giving him the only female contact he'll ever have in his life. To put her in her place, Momo uses telekinesis to boink her head with a wash tub. Okarune is about to rush to her rescue, thinking it's his bad karma that led to the girl's fall, when Momo holds him, insisting on going home together and complimenting him in front of everyone to make a point of how macho he is. As they're walking home, Momo apologizes for her behavior when Okarune brings up the major issue he has, which is literally that he has no balls. While Momo is still laughing like a maniac, Sana does a classic I told you so bit with him, saying this is why she wanted to take a direct look. Now, she does a ritual to peek into his soul because there's something hiding within him, which is probably why he hasn't descended yet. As Sana smacks him, Momo notices a slight change in his aura and tries to pull it out because it might be foreign aura. Even though the aura leaves Okarune, it gets absorbed into a cat doll they're using for the ritual, and the possessed doll runs away like Annabelle at the side of the Warrens. Momo locates the doll with her powers and they realize that it's Turbo Granny, who actually got nerfed instead of burnt completely, which is why she temporarily moved into Okarune's body to wait until her powers recharge so that she can finally end the three of them. Refusing to accept defeat, she tells them that if they kill her in her weak state now, he'll never get his balls back. As Turbo Granny orders him to kill Momo and Sana with a kitchen knife to get his balls back, Okarune feels so furious that he transforms on his own, which means that if Turbo Granny has his balls, he also has her power. Momo gives Turbo Granny a fair chance because of sympathy with the dead girls and promises to exchange her powers for his balls, and the ghost agrees as well. However, Turbo Granny admits to dropping Okarune's balls somewhere, which is why she can't return them immediately. She goes on to explain that his balls are wrapped in her spiritual energy, which exists in the form of a golden ball, which is filled with life force. Since Momo and Okarune can't find it at the park Turbo Granny has brought them to, she assumes that someone already took it as spirits, and yokai monsters often collect such items in hopes of returning back to life. Seeing that Turbo Granny doesn't give a flying fudge about this situation, Okarune and Momo kick her like a football for being so annoying. The next day at school, one of Okarune's classmates takes him aside and asks to be introduced to Momo because he finds her cute. Okarune low-key agrees with him on the fact that his friend has a lethal face card, but then the guy starts calling Momo a bop as she's rumored to sleep with anything that has a pulse. To defend the honor of his girl, Okarune loses his cool and grabs the a-hole by his collar, making it clear that he won't allow such talk about Momo. This makes him almost transform until he returns to his senses and desk, hoping to be invisible again. But it turns out that the possessed cat doll is in his bag because Santa didn't quarantine it at her house. Turbo Granny acknowledges the burden of carrying her power and how that must be bothering Okarune too, which is why she very conveniently offers to take her powers back. Not falling for this, Okarune is about to snitch to Momo when he gets lost in her cuteness, making her mad under the assumption that he's avoiding her. As their love story develops, Turbo Granny decides to get a taste of campus life after ages. Later on, Momo complains to her friends about Okarune avoiding her and learns about how he took a stand for her against some misogynistic frat boys. Meanwhile, Era walks down the hallway feeling like the it girl in school because of how pretty and kind everyone thinks she is. But she didn't appreciate Momo looking right through her pretense of being a chill girl and dissing her, which is why she tried to spread rumors against her. But the rumors aren't catching on, which worries Aira, as she's seen Momo's powers and thinks she's a demon while she considers herself to be a chosen one who can see things others can't. As if her god complex wasn't enough already, she also found the golden ball, which she believes to be a sign from heavens confirming her role as the prettiest demon hunter, when in reality she was just coincidentally near the train where Momo defeated Turbo Granny. Possessing the golden ball has allowed her to see all kinds of auras and life forces and made her delulu about her lifelong purpose. Even now, she's preparing to do some weird rituals to save the world and is paranoid about Momo's familiar spying on her until she sees a bunch of her male classmates and goes back to being a pick-me. To keep her social standing intact, she signals her friends to do the ritual after school. Momo is having lunch with Okarun when she realizes that Turbo Granny has also sneaked her way into school. She's about to give her a good beating when Okarun reminds her that Turbo Granny has supposedly found a strange woman. They all finally entertain the possibility of a human picking up the golden ball, which would not only allow them to see spirits but also make them visible to other spirits, putting them in grave danger. This explains why Era is brewing against Momo, planning to defeat her, and why she sees a woman in a red dress haunting her, which she assumes to be Momo's familiar. As the woman in red dress moves closer to Era, she approaches Momo, wanting to talk to her alone. Once Momo has left with Era, Turbo Granny informs Okarun that Era is the strange woman she was talking about. Meanwhile, Era and her sidekicks take Momo to an isolated spot and pin her down while Era tries to exorcise the demon out of her by shoving a cross on her face. Having had enough of unsolicited objects being shoved in her face, Momo shakes up the two sidekicks like they're salt and pepper containers at a diner. Era resorts to using the golden ball on Momo, who keeps trying to tell her that it's actually Okarun's nutsack that she holds so precious. Okarun shows up to break the news that Era isn't the strange woman but is being targeted by her, but it's too late as the woman in red catches her. She says that she's been waiting all these years for Era to be able to see her and calls herself as Era's mommy. Before we can hear their backstory, Okarun transforms and attacks the woman in red, only to end up inside her mouth. Momo tries to free him, but it gets difficult for her to control her powers with her hands tied. Meanwhile, the woman in red reveals that she's followed Era around for 10 years since she accidentally called her mommy as a kid. Turbo Granny has been watching the show and informs Momo that this ghost is called Acrobatic Silky because that's what ChatGPT told her. When Era mods Acrobatic Silky and calls her a monster, she swallows her whole body too, making Momo even more frustrated about why she's gobbling up everyone. Being the petty queen she is, Turbo Granny refuses to untie Momo's hands, while Acrobatic Silky beats her up because she blames her for Era's misbehaving. Then she starts acting needy again by encouraging Momo to call her mommy, but when that doesn't work out, she ends up in this weird spirit's stomach as well. Now that the humans are out of the way, it's time for the grandmommy to school this supposed ugly mommy. When Acrobatic Silky disrespects Turbo Granny, she tells her who's boss by revealing that the cross she swallowed with the people she ate was actually a lighter, which is why she's set on fire immediately, forced to spit out Okarun, Era, and Momo. While Momo and Okarun are still on their 2 feet due to their powers, Ara is passed out, making Acrobatic Silky even more moody as she mourns the loss of a daughter she never had. After Momo gets hit by her, Turbo Okarun continues to run while carrying Era in his arms until she finally catches up to him and swats him away like a fly. Acrobatic Silky is about to chew up Era for good this time when she realizes that Momo and Okarun trapped her by tying up her loose strands in the beams of this place, immobilizing her. She tears her own hair apart and is about to tear apart Momo's limbs next when Okarun goes full throttle and KOs her. Turbo Granny tells them to leave Acrobatic alone as she seems pretty out of it, and she starts searching Era's pockets for her golden ball. Momo tries to find a pair of scissors to free her hands until Turbo Granny announces that Era has reached RIP status. Okarun and Momo are trying to find her pulse in disbelief when Turbo Granny explains that any ordinary human eaten by a yokai won't survive. As Turbo Granny continues her sadistic lecture, Momo tries to massage Era's heart while Okarun performs CPR on her to somehow bring her back. Their efforts to resuscitate her are going in vain until Acrobat Silky staggers to them, offering her aura to kickstart Era's heart. Maintaining caution, Momo uses her powers to augment Acrobat Silky's aura with Era's dimming aura and gets an insight into what Acrobat Silky's life was like. Momo gets a vision of Acrobat Silky waking up late at night and getting home to be greeted by her adorable daughter. She was a beautiful ballerina who busted her butt to raise her daughter with love and comfort until their sweet little heaven was torn to shreds by some evil men. They broke into her home, carving up Acrobat Silky with glass because she fought to protect her daughter until her last breath. Then, they took away her innocent little daughter to sell her to more evil men like them, leaving the mom's spirit in an eternity of torment as she roamed the earth looking for her daughter. Her soul was still suffering when little Era mistook her for her mom who had passed away when Era was still a kid. Since then, Acrobat Silky had been acting like Era's guardian angel, thinking she was her estranged daughter. As Era regains consciousness back in the present, Momo cries her heart out at their sob story. Admitting that she ended up hurting Era instead of protecting her, Acrobat Silky detests herself for turning into a monster and diminishes into nothingness because she sacrificed all her aura for Era's sake. In return for her act of motherly love, Era hugs Acrobat Silky, praying for her to reach a kinder world where she won't meet such a cruel end. Then, she promises to remember her sacrifice forever. Now that Era also has dinner at Santa's house, Okarun struggles to decide which girl he should focus on while she slurps up her ramen. Momo breaks the tension by addressing the fact that she dropped the wash tub on Ira's head and apologizes for going too far, nudging Ira to also apologize to Okarun for mocking him. But this girl forgot to take her supplements as a kid, as she's still dumb enough to go on about how they're all demons who want to destroy the world. They're still beefing when Era thanks Okarun for trying to save her life many times during his fight with Acrobat Silky, and he responds that he was just doing it out of the goodness of his heart. This convinces Era that Okarun hasn't fully turned into a demon and that there's some humanity left in him, which is why she decides to liberate him from Momo's demon control. As Era leaves, Momo and Okaru both shake their heads at how misunderstood she is, unaware that she's caught feelings for Okarun. On the other hand, Turbo Granny and Santa's way of returning Okarun's sack to him is by playing baseball with the golden ball, and when Santa misses the ball, it strikes Okarun right in the wrong spot. As he screams like a kid on a roller coaster, Momo plays referee until he finally declares that the weird operation has been successful, making him a proper man again. Sadly for him, they have to do the whole thing one more time because he only got one ball in this time. They're at the school afterwards when they both decide to make some bank to buy a computer or a smartphone to go on occult forums online. Momo wants to meet on the roof for lunch, but Okarun sheepishly excuses himself, saying he has to work on a report during lunchtime. She suggests going to an internet cafe after school to hang out, but he declines that offer too, avoiding eye contact with her. She finally gets the hint and goes to her girls to have lunch instead. They contemplate why Okarun could be avoiding Momo, and she lands on the suspicion that he must be doing Era on the side. She excuses herself to get a drink but can't shake off the uneasy feeling within her, even though she wants to trust him completely. Turns out a woman's instinct is never wrong, as she catches Era pinned under Okarun in a desolate spot on campus. Her heart drops with the juice boxes in her hand, as she sees Okarun watching Era, who has her eyes closed in the most submissive manner. What she doesn't know is that Okarun was using his lunchtime to try being a gym rat and do some muscle training until he can find his another ball, because knowing their luck, they'll run into some other disaster before that. He was doing the workout that Santa once prescribed to him to protect Momo in future when Era sneaked up on him. Like Selena Gomez, she can't keep her hands to herself and grabs his face to confess her feelings for him, but before she can kiss him, he slaps her face away, making her confused about why any guy would push away a girl as bangable as her. Turns out that she's been watching some movies from her daddy's nighttime collection, which is why she got such a messed up idea of a love confession. Okarun is such a noob that he starts wrestling her instead, hoping to knock some sense into her, but he knocks her down instead, ending up in the position in which Momo caught them. He looks up to see Momo, who's frozen on the spot when Era asks him to hurry up in claiming her. Fully convinced that all men, including Okarun, are pieces of poop, Momo walks away while Okarun follows her, trying to explain that it's not what it looks like. She doesn't want to hear his lies or excuses and snaps at him before returning to her classroom to wallow in the pain of yet another breakup. She continues to act emo during her science lab, where they study about the capabilities of a mantis shrimp, making her friends concerned about her. Meanwhile, Okarun continues to train during his class while promising himself that he'll get stronger on his own and prove his loyalty to Momo. It's when he looks up that he realizes that the classroom is suddenly empty and that it's suddenly pitch black outside the windows of their school. He hears Ara calling out for him in panic because she's just as clueless as him. While she blames Momo, Okarun wonders where she is and starts looking for her. On the other hand, Momo hates being locked inside the school while the building is slowly being flooded with water, which makes her worried about Okarun for a second. But then, anger takes over her until she senses something ominous approaching her. She enters stealth mode and hides behind a wall to spot a monster that looks like an animatronic dinosaur from a Disney World ride. The ripples created by the movement of her feet alerts the monster of her presence, and she feels it moving in her direction. Standing only a few feet away from her, the monster opens its smelly mouth to throw a laser beam that destroys a major part of the school building. After barely surviving this attack, Momo wonders whether Okarun is safe now that the monster has switched routes. Okarun and Era hear the explosion nearby, and Era doubts whether she's being framed or punked by the demons. Denying this baseless accusation, Okarun remembers being in this pitch-black state under the attack of the Flatwoods monster. Just as soon as he recognizes this being an alien's doing, an alien version of Rocky Balboa swings a punch at him. Immediately transforming, he dodges the attack and saves Era. He's still processing the boxer alien when the trio of Serpoians immobilize and surround him. Like a brainless chick, Era flashes her cross at them and gets thrown away, while the Serpoians explain that they specifically created this void so that only individuals with high spirituality would be able to enter, so that they can steal their reproductive organs only. Fascinated by Okarun's powers, the Serpoians plan to do experiments experiments and transplants on him, unaware that this stems from a curse. No matter how much he tries, Okaru fails to transform, getting the feeling that Momo is controlling her curse to keep him weak. The Serpoians are about to give him an unwanted snip when Era unlocks her dormant powers that she got from Acrobat Silky's aura. Era checks up on a nude Okaru after shoving the Serpoians away, immediately covering her eyes in equal parts of intrigue and shyness. The Serpoians note that she'll also prove useful for them, which is why they send the boxer alien after her, but she effortlessly defends herself against it. However, when the Serpoians gang up on her, she finally takes a fall. As she gets back up and continues fighting, Okaru frantically searches for clothes and gets one punch to his face just for funsies. By the time Okaru accepts that there are no proper clothes nearby, Era figures out how to use the boxer alien as her human shield to dodge the Serpoians' invisible attacks, convincing her that the boxer must be in love with her like the rest of mankind too. Telling the alien that she is taken by another man, she promises to give him rough chances to earn her affection while she keeps beating it like it's Okaru's sausage. She's about to do some more badass action sequences until the Serpoians trap her too, forcing her out of her powerful aura into her original, helpless form. Era is throwing shade at the Serpoians when the boxer alien finally gets his head out of the ceiling and sucker punches her in the gut, busting up her ovaries for good. Now that she's lying helplessly on the floor, a naked Okaru emerges in all his glory but with his assets hidden. He transforms and moves closer to Era, stupidly walking right into the Serpoians' trap, which they call as the Awesome Zone. In this not-so-awesome zone, both Era and Okaru can't transform no matter how hard they try. But the only problem is that the Serpoians themselves can't enter this awesome zone, which is why they have the boxer alien punch the both of them until they're beaten to a pulp and no longer have the energy to get up. The Serpoians are put in their place when Okaru transforms and breaks free of their awesome Zybe, making them realize that it was Momo who weakened their forces with her telekinesis. She's shown up to blow up a storm and get her man back, but right now she focuses on the Serpoians, actively ignoring Okaru's confession of missing her all this time. Era also chimes in, saying she won't let Okaru go so easily, which totally messes with Momo's flow, and the three of them end up in the Serpoians' awesome zone. By this time, the Serpoians figure out that their boxer henchman is giving slacker energy, so they transform him into another, more swift monster called the Businessman. He does a much better job at beating up Okaru and his unapologetic mistress until Momo gets her head back into the game and frees the other two from the awesome zone. Even though the Businessman uses his mantis moves to send Era's head into the ceiling, giving her a taste of her own medicine, Turbo Okaru is fast enough to see his attacks and dodges them. He kicks the Businessman right in his mantis face, and the fight is still going on when the water around them turns into the color of green jello and swallows them all. After swimming back to the surface, Momo notices that the ceiling and walls are all water now, which is right when she feels the energy shift, signaling the arrival of the Loch Ness monster that shot a beam earlier on. Momo tells him to make a run for it, but they're not in such a cooperative mood today, as Era acts like a power-hungry dictator, and Okaru keeps fangirling over the monster that he fondly calls Nessie. Tired of their cringe relationship, Momo distances herself from them while the Serpoians reprimand Nessie for not doing a good job of catching the targets. But Nessie is a boss babe who takes orders from no one, which is why it splits one of the Serpoians in half with her massive beam. Seeing this guy's unfortunate end snaps Okaru and Era right out of their haze mindset, and they follow Momo and her escape, but Era gets caught up in the backfire of the mantis anger issues. Seeing how powerful it is underwater takes Momo back to her science lesson from earlier that day, where she learned that the mantis's punches would be even stronger under the water. Momo asks Okaru to turbo swim in the water, but it turns out to be a miss because apparently Turbo Granny can't swim and neither can Turbo Okaru. They have no idea now on how to save Era, who is passed out underwater, and this makes them argue like a married couple. This is when Okaru gets carried away and holds Momo's hand to tell her that hers is the only opinion that matters to him, which is why he can't tolerate her thinking he's a fudge boy. They're still going at it when the blast sends them underwater. Soon enough, Momo feels Okaru's wooden plank, which is why they both awkwardly move to the surface in opposite directions while Okaru clarifies that it was completely unintentional and beyond his control. He promises to never touch her again, as he instantly puts her on his back while she uses her powers to propel them forward away from the mantis. They finally make their way to the upper level of water with Era, and Momo guesses that a lot of water must have entered her lungs by now. Excusing herself in advance, she resuscitates Ara with her powers and orders her to strip down like they're on Baywatch so that they can swim at a higher speed. Following Momo's plan, the girls climb on lucky Okaru's back and dodge an attack coming their way. They finally catch Nessie's weakness in the form of its neck, as breaking it would stop the monster from shooting beams like it's a laser show. As they try to combat it, the punching Serpoin merges with Nessie to form an OP creature they have no chance of defeating underwater. Okaru is about to give up completely when Momo puts her science knowledge to good use and implodes the merged abomination with the impact of its own punches. Even then, it's about to make Momo drown with it until Ira comes through, providing Momo a path to emerge out of the water, while Okaru goes full throttle to free Momo and finish off the merged monster like they're on Mortal Kombat. Finally back on ground, Momo is wearing nothing but her lingerie while she clings onto a nude Okaru. As they cough out the the water and process their victory, they rejoice at finally being on the hard floor of the school's hallway until it dawns on them that the whole school caught them in this compromising position. Joined by Era, who doesn't want to show off her perfect little bod for the first time, they all make a run for it while their tapes make rounds on the internet like they're Kim K and Ray J. In the aftermath of this humiliation, our troublesome trio ends up in their teacher's office, who's rightfully named Queen Sensei, probably because she looks like a dominatrix instead of a washed-out teacher. As she whips the janitor for entering her room without knocking first, Era, Momo, and Okarun are left off the hook for now, as they can stay back in her office. As soon as she's gone, Era loses her senses because the innocent image and popularity she carefully curated over these years has all gone down the drain now, while Momo seethes over the aliens' audacity to keep targeting them over and over again. Okarun accepts the fact that the aliens will target him even more since they're interested in harnessing Turbo Granny's power for the evolution of their species. They both remember that Era also hit her power puberty during that battle, and she casually mentions that she was destined to be this pretty soldier all along. However, this has also put her on the Seropians' radar along with Okarun, who has just got an epiphany. He connects the dots and shares that the only reason why aliens haven't been able to invade Earth yet is because of the yokai and monsters that exist all over the globe. No matter how tech-savvy these aliens get, they can't beat a good old-fashioned spirit or ghost, which is why they're after special humans with yokai skills. He also guesses that his other ball is with these aliens, which is why they must find it as soon as possible. Once he's done, the girls go back to panicking over their tarnished reputations and turn on each other as Era decides to shift all the blame on Momo, who tried to pimp her out earlier. As if on cue, Era's buddies also show up to take her away and throw shade at Momo, but she couldn't care less about what these girls say. However, she demands an explanation on the sus position she found Okarun and Ira in, and he finally tells her the whole truth, shyly admitting to working out to rizz her up. He feels embarrassed now at his attempt to come across as a chill guy in front of her while she keeps teasing him for personal amusement. He's about to walk away to avoid this sticky situation when they share an emotional moment of prolonged eye contact until Momo's besties walk in on them to cockblock. They demand for the tea to be spilled immediately while launching into fully fledged Sherlock mode, and reach the conclusion that Okarun is in a love triangle with Momo and Era, making him the luckiest man alive. Meanwhile, Era is collecting sympathies and prayers from all the students as she plays the victim card for attention. She's secretly grinning like the Grinch at how her popularity is serving her so well when she sees all the students bad-mouthing Momo. Finally getting a conscience, she publicly admits to spreading fake rumors about Momo and walks out solemnly after dethroning herself from Queen Bee status. She's slamming her head into a bench with regret when Momo finds her, shocked to see that her posse isn't around today. Even though Era is adamant on maintaining their forced catfight, Momo sees right through her and understands that Era didn't character assassinate her despite threatening to do so. That's when the boxer alien shows up, refusing to go home after taking an L like a sore loser. The girls are about to gang up on him when he collapses and wakes up to find himself at Santa's house. Momo brought him here to prove aliens' existence to Santa, but she's still skeptical about the alien actually being a kappa. The alien is about to attack them when he notices a plate of hot curry in front of him, which brings him to tears as no one's ever given him this kind of princess treatment before. He swears to never harm them again, after which they all partake in a fighting feast, aka dinner at Santa's household. Once they're done eating and fighting, the boxer alien shares his sad story about how his son needs new blood every day in order to live, as his mother also died from the same illness. This is why he takes on odd jobs outside his planet to earn that dough, because his homeland is a war zone where no one can make an honest living. Since his people are built like your average gym bro, they get jobs as bodyguards and bouncers, but he's a weakling, which is why he can only take shady gigs like the one with Serpoins. His poverty and weakness moves Okarun so much that he volunteers to give away his woodpecker just so that the boxer alien would be able to afford his son's treatment. Momo thinks he's making a hasty decision, and the three of them start arguing all over again until the boxer alien speaks up, agreeing with Momo in the fact that he needs to find a stable job to get consistent paychecks instead of one fat payment. He appreciates this kindness before preparing to get out of their way when Santa urges him to try some milk. Upon sipping it, he exclaims that this is the blood he and his son needed all along. As it turns out, their blood is unpasteurized milk. Santa solves his problem within seconds by arranging a cow for him to take to his home planet, making an ally for life. Even after witnessing the live abduction of a cow which has Okarun practically creaming his pants, Santa casually dismisses her alien friend as a kappa, still refusing to believe in aliens' existence. Later that night, the three of them beg Santa to buy them new uniforms and promise to use them carefully this time. Since Momo is being a smartmouth, Santa agrees to pay for Okarun's and Era's uniforms, but Momo has to earn it. She has to put up a show and do an embarrassing impersonation, which she eventually complies with even as the doorbell rings. She answers it to see Gigi, a tall hottie with red hair like hers, while Santa tells everyone that he's Momo's childhood friend and first love. It's Okarun's turn to be jelly now. He checks out Beefcake Gigi, who looks all cool and athletic, basically the total opposite of a dweeb like Okarun. He's still hyping up Gigi in his head when he calls Momo a cutie and starts acting in the most annoying way like a meathead jock. Even Santa greets Gigi respectfully, which maybe has something to do with the fact that he calls her beautiful every time they meet. Momo is still confused as ever when Santa declares that Gigi will live with them from now onwards, which is unacceptable to both Momo and Okarun for different reasons. Era, on the other hand, is cooking up theories about how this is Momo's way of gathering an army of demons and runs out of the house to assemble her legion of do-gooders too. Not wanting to be a third wheel, Okarun takes his leave too as Momo sees him off at the door and watches him drag himself outside, silently hoping she'll give him some reassurance. What she does give him are some weird gang signs, which he clearly doesn't understand because he forgot to take sign language with Dumbo's 101. She finally shouts out a "see you tomorrow" at him and makes him say it too, even though they both feel that it's just not the same anymore. Later on, Momo questions Santa on why Gigi has moved in with him, and she replies that both of his parents have been hospitalized, which is why she opened up her doors to him and the doors of her house too. Momo and Gigi are doing the dishes together when he admits that he regrets mocking her hand gesture when they were kids, as now he can see ghosts. Momo wonders if it's because of a golden ball, but that's not the case with him. Gigi narrates that when he moved away during middle school into a mountainous area, he loved his new huge house. But after some time, he started to get weird vibes from it, especially from all the stuff lying around there. His parents just thought he was being a neat freak with OCD and dismissed him, which is why he tried to ignore anything paranormal. But the entity in his house was such an attention-seeking thing that it forced him to look at it and has been following him around since then. Soon afterwards, his parents' health started to deteriorate and he contacted many mediums to exorcise the demon haunting his fam. 3 out of the 5 famous mediums he contacted ended up offing themselves in the process of the exorcism, so he was sent to the best of the best, aka Momo's grandma. Now that Momo has his backstory, she eases up on him while he properly apologizes for making fun of her for believing in the paranormal because he gets how the tables have turned now. Santa intervenes saying she can't help Gigi because her powers only work within Kamigawa City, which is why Momo will be sent on this quest. When Momo protests, Santa reminds her that Gigi can suddenly see ghosts now, which might be a lead in Okarun's missing ball case. But first, Gigi makes his grand entrance at Momo's school now that he's transferred there, giving some people the love bug and others the ick. He's even rizzing up her friends before he puts her in an awkward situation by blabbing about how they're in a live-in relationship. In the other classroom, Okarun is drowning in a pool of envy as he wonders whether Momo still likes Gigi because if they start dating him, he'd be out of the picture quicker than a deadbeat dad. He also imagines how Momo would put Gigi first and forget all about their geek hobbies, leaving him alone with his occult magazines yet again. Even the thought of this happening is way too scary for him, which is why he does what every guy does during a crisis: he hits the gym. But as soon as Momo finds him, he gets all nervous and shy again. She tells him that she wants to have lunch with him and keep an eye on him again so that he won't do anything funny like did with Era not so long ago. Since both his hands are occupied with dumbbells, she offers to feed him with her own hands, giving him the most pleasant surprise of his life. But things have never been so easy for Okarun, and so is the case now as Gigi shows up with Momo's favorite, super rare drink he brought for her as a present. Seeing them being so friendly together convinces Okarun that he doesn't stand a chance against this Jungkook lookalike, which is why he starts to walk away from them. As soon as he turns a corner, Okarun sees a naked man whose half body is raw flesh and bones running towards him like he's practicing for a marathon. Being the wuss he is, Okarun gets out of this ghost's way while Momo prepares to stop it in its tracks with her powers. But Gigi decides to play hero and moves her out of the way, covering her with his wide and rock-hard chest. As the ghost version of Usain Bolt skips over them, Momo catches a glimpse of his nether region and recognizes Okarun's golden ball attached to him. Momo catches this knockoff Usain Bolt with her psychic hand, but he keeps sprinting, taking her and Gigi away with him while Okarun acts like a disciplined boy and takes off his new uniform before transforming and catching up with the rest of the party. He saves Momo's life in Aura Farms while still following the running ghost. Meanwhile, Momo gives Gigi the highlights on their journey so far, and they finally pull the running ghost towards them, but he just doesn't know how to give up as it disassembles and reassembles like it's made of Lego, majorly grossing out Momo and the others. They lose sight of the ghost, but Momo uses her powers to locate him, hidden away in an abandoned construction site where it's laying on the ground, face flat, butt up to the sky. Momo explains that she grabbed a hold of his heart before he reassembled all his body parts, which is what led her to him. After promising him safety, she asks to see his golden nuts when the ghost ignores her, following a female voice named Hana calling out his name, Taro. He jumps into the pile of trash to look for her, while Hana warns him to stay away for his own sake. But Taro is a gentleman, as he finally finds her and proclaims his love for her, which is why he was in such a rush and an unstoppable mood all this time. Witnessing their heartwarming union stirs something within Okarun, who realizes his true feelings for Momo and how she changed his life, making him finally turn into a man even though he's technically still missing a testicle. Adopting these star-crossed lovers, Momo, Gigi, and Okarun bring Hana to Santa's house and beg her to keep her there, while Taro can serve as the anatomical human in their school's chem lab and sneak out later to meet Hana at the house. Santa allows it on the condition that they must not wake the neighbors, while Momo tells her that the golden nut she saw on Taro was actually just a Christmas ornament. As they set up the dinner table, Gigi compliments Momo and Okarun's dynamic duo and wishes that he possessed some power too. He then proceeds to casually flirt with Momo right in front of Okarun, who feels ashamed that even an anatomical man had more guts than him when it comes to love. Trying to shoot his shot, he repeats Gigi's pickup line, except he sounds super constipated while saying it, which takes away the charm. As the guys have their loser contest of who can crawl his way into Momo's pants first, Santa reminds Momo that she needs to pack her undies for her weekend stay at Gigi's place. Upon Okarun's inquiry, Momo shares the sinister history of the house and invites Okarun, who instantly agrees because he doesn't want to leave his crush with the Huz charmer. It's midnight when a bunch of students sneak into the school building to play with an Ouija board when they end up traumatized for life after seeing Taro commuting to meet his girl at night. Momo waits for him with Hana all night, oblivious to the fact that he got hit by a truck on his way. But even as the sun comes out, he surprises Hana with a back hug, proving that if he wanted to, he would. Things aren't looking so sunshine and rainbows for Gigi, whose insomnia is driving him crazy as he keeps seeing a sleep paralysis demon. But he doesn't let it show on the train ride to his house as he reminisces fond memories of their childhood with Momo, giving Okarun major FOMO. He brings up a new topic to catch Momo's attention, but Gigi takes over the conversation again because he's just a natural yapper. Okarun tries to beat him by changing the subject, and Gigi still participates, giving Okarun the realization that he shouldn't be such a performative male and befriend other guys too, because Gigi is taking the same amount of interest in his theories too. When Gigi extends the hand of friendship, Okarun starts considering him as a fairly decent guy. They finally arrive at Gigi's village, which is a hot springs district, which explains why Gigi's dad moved here with his family as he was researching some nearby volcanoes. Gigi adds that the volcano's previous eruption was 200 years ago, and things have calmed down since then. Momo and Okarun hit their steps target for the day as they climb many flights of stairs, missing out on how Sue's looking the villagers are. Stopping outside the house, Momo catches her breath and surprisingly doesn't see any strange aura around the property. They all step into the house together, unaware that the Uncanny Valley villagers are spying on them from the woods. Gigi and Okarun inspect the house cautiously while Momo acts all nonchalant, confirming that the house is safe. Okarun starts doubting Gigi's intentions of bringing them to the middle of nowhere when Momo clarifies that the place must have given off bad vibes because the ghosts must be lurking around and hiding. Momo acts like she knows her stuff by explaining that she won't be able to detect the spirits until they reach their high spiritual power. Establishing her dominance, she orders Gigi to fetch her a glass of OJ and motions Okarun to sit beside her, assuring him that they can chill for now since spirits show up at night anyway. Until then, she decides to hit the hot springs to have a solo spa day, leaving the guys alone in the house after promising to return by evening. As Okarun spends some guy time with Gigi learning how to play soccer, he feels embarrassed at how unfit he is, but also hopes to learn a few tricks so that he can Momo later. He's still daydreaming about her when Gigi abruptly asks him if he's in love with her. Like a wuss, Okarun dodged the question by saying he greatly respects Momo. To get his true feelings out in the open, Gigi teases him by openly complimenting Momo's features and pulls out the childhood best friend advantage card to assert his dominance. This takes Okarun back to his accidental kiss with Momo, and he hides his face in his hands like he's a victim of plastic surgery gone wrong. On the other hand, Momo, who intentionally left the boys alone to let them bond, is about to step out the hot spring with a towel wrapped around her curves when a bunch of creeps impose their company on her. They ask her why she showed up at a co-ed bathhouse at such a young age, which makes her realize they aren't technically wrong, as she forgot to read the rusty old sign. The men get into the water while she starts feeling dizzy, but she also can't get out in front of them because she doesn't want to give them a free show. The boys are also done fighting as they notice that an extra room has suddenly appeared in the house. They inspect the supposed walls of the room and learn that it's hollow on the other side, meaning there might be an undiscovered room in the house all along. The men ask Momo if she knows about gators, not the animal, but the men who show up to co-ed baths and target naked women like her. As they move within the water towards her, she wonders if she can take them all out with her psychic powers, whereas Gigi uses a sledgehammer to break into the secret room. As one of the men grabs both of Momo's hands and pins her under the water, Gigi and Okarun gasp at the dark room full of ominous notes and paranormal energy,